appreciate all of you being here. I'd like to give a little bit of history, and Duke, if I'm wrong, will you please correct me? What we have here is we have a picture of the original building that was built here, and this is where the City Hall actually was. Unfortunately, the building burned to the ground in 1916, so we don't have to move the building. And we want to thank Richard Bryan very much for allowing us to put this plaque on his building. When I called him, he was excited and said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. So I'd like to give you just a little bit of a brief history. With the move of the Southern Pacific Railroad headquarters from Rockland to Roseville, there was a tremendous influx of people and problems for the area. The Chamber of Commerce had commenced business on October the 17th, 1906, and by January the 6th, 1908, they were already talking about incorporation. There was strong opposition to the incorporating from the railroad because they were afraid that they would lose control of the rail yards. So Forrest Hill, who was a member of the chamber and the son of Cassie Hill, who we all know was in charge of the train depot at the time, was sent to San Francisco to work with them and to try to calm some of their fears. After many discussions, it was decided that the city could incorporate and the railroad would back it if the railroad property was not part of the city. In December of 1908, public meetings were held to see if the people of Roseville wanted to incorporate. And on January the 21st, 1909, a petition to incorporate the city of Roseville was published in the Roseville Register. An election was held on April the 2nd, 1909, and by a vote of 241 to 59, the city voted for incorporation. And with 15 candidates running for office, William Sawtell, R.F. Beale, William Heyman, Dr. Bradford Woodbridge, and R.H. Wells were elected as the city's first trustees, which we now call City Council. The first meeting of the Board of Trustees was held April the 10th, 1909 at the Bank Building, which was around the corner. But because the space was too small, they decided to move to the McRae Building, which Richard also owns. But then by August, they decided that they needed to move to a larger place, and so they moved to the upstairs of the building that was located here that was owned by Mr. Johnson and Mr. Musson. And this is where they decided it would be the permanent location for the City Hall. And it cost the City of Roseville $12 a month for rent, and that also included janitorial service. So we're just really excited that this is where we ended up being for so long. Richard, would you like to make a couple of comments about the building?
I'm very happy to be here today. I started getting involved in Old Town Roseville back in about 1989. And at that time, it didn't look like it does right now. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. We had one person in this building who was a real estate agent who kept his office here for free rent in exchange for keeping an eye on the building. Most everything was boarded up. About 3/4 of the spaces down here in Old Town were vacant, and those that did have anybody in them were used primarily for storage. There were lots of transients down here. You can come down any day of the week and step over transients who were drunk or sleeping on the sidewalk. It wasn't a pretty picture. I see that as kind of the low spot in the history of Old Town. And that started when the city city closed off the road, Lincoln Street, that used to come through here. And when that closed off, that was after they put the bypass through, the rest of Roseville took off. And this portion of Roseville, because you couldn't get to it anymore, there wasn't any good parking, it started to slow down. And then the city had the foresight to create a redevelopment district. And they went ahead, and I don't know all the particulars of it, maybe Jim does, but as I understand, they took the Auto Mall property and some other properties up there by the Galleria and worked out an agreement with the county where as the taxes went up, that portion of the tax increase would go to fixing up some of the areas in the Old Town area, Vernon Street and Riverside that needed it. And so this was back, I think, in the early 80s that they did this, but the money finally started to flow in about 5 years ago. And as you look up and down the streets now, you can see what's happened as a result of the foresight and the planning that people at the city had to make all this happen. You look at all the fresh paint and the awnings on the buildings and the iron work, and it's really turning out to be a beautiful area. The plaque here will give not just the casual person that comes here, but every child who's ever going to grow up in Roseville, they're going to come here and they're going to read this plaque, and it's going to give them a sense of history and time and where they fit in with it, and how it wasn't that long ago, just a few years before my father was born, that there were Indians out here, and there was nothing. Time moves so fast. This plaque will help people see how much change there's been in just a little over 100 years, and imagine what it's going to be like 100 years from now. But it's wonderful to have the plaque, and I want to thank the members of I understand the Rotary Club went ahead and came up with the money, so I know that there are some Rotarians here, so I want to thank them for being so civic-minded and caring about our kids and giving us a sense of history. And I want to thank Phoebe for going ahead and spearheading this whole thing, because it's a lot of work to do that. And I imagine Duke is the historian that helps out, and everybody else I'm going to miss, but I want to thank you all very much. And anybody else, Steve? Turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Jim, would you like to say a few words on behalf of the city, please?
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to see all of you here. And contrary to popular opinion, I did not attend council. I have been in Roseville for quite a while. I have a kind of a running joke is I've been in Roseville for I think I moved here like 46 years ago, and there's still a lot of people that are there in the same because I wasn't born and raised here. So I get that a lot. To me, and I know to the rest of the council, doing these kinds of things is really important, and it's really a lot of fun to recognize our old historic buildings and to keep us connected with the past. Now, Richard talked about how kind of we got to where we are today, and excuse me, and the original financing was through what's called tax increment financing. It's that the more taxes you make, then we take off part of it and funnel it into doing these kinds of things. And then, but lately it's been through, we were talking about this morning, it was like $30+ million in bond financing that has gone to fund the infrastructure improvements that have taken place down here and over on Riverside and downtown. But I came to Roseville in 1966, and I remember what this whole part of Roseville looked like. And this is such a phenomenal change. And I see a great future for the historic district in Roseville. I see as we do more and as more money is invested in here, then it'll bring more people in, it'll bring more investment in, and you know, it's not going to be that long, particularly on weekends, Fridays and Saturday nights, you won't be able to move down. There'll be so many people down there having such a great time. So, on behalf of the Roseville City Council, I want to express our appreciation to Richard for allowing this to happen, and to the Historical Society for making it happen, and as a Rotarian, to the Rotary Club for putting up the meeting. So thank you very much.
Would Roseville Rotary like to say a couple of words?
I'm John DeLace, I'm president of the Rotary Club of Roseville, which Jim Ray is a member, also John Beach is a member. We're just so tickled pink to be a part of this and to be part of this ceremony. Richard, I'm a newbie. You've mentioned 46 years. I'm about 19 years, so I'm a real newbie by those standards. But again, we're so proud that we can take part in this and contribute to this ceremony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate your support of this. Is there anyone else that would like to say a word or two? And I'll speak at once, guys. Okay, with that, I think we'll go ahead. Duke, would you like to come over here and help me undo the plaque? There you go. Boy, I didn't know I taped that so good. So I did that. So we want to thank everyone for coming. Mark, I need to see you over there. I need to talk to you before you leave, please. Okay, this concludes our unveiling of the plaque, and thank you all very much. I'll get out of the way so people can go up and look at it.
How are you doing? What's your name? Yeah, how are you doing? Oh, really?
Thank you.